Welcome in. I am back from Utah. I am back from my trip to Provo, Salt Lake City, Park City. I spent a lot of time in all three, particularly actually Park City, where I spent the most time. I'm focusing on that part of the trip because, as you guys know, the game did not go well for my squad, but I had an amazing time. It was an incredible trip. I am so glad that I made the trip. And I'm going to talk to you a lot tonight about what has happened across the Big 12. The state of Utah, man, we thought it was going to be the state of Kansas around here this year that was going to control football in the Big 12. But how about the state of Utah? I asked for your Big 12 Week 3 hot takes, and I got somebody saying we're going to see 3 holy wars this year, 1 regular season, 1 Big 12 championship game, 1 college football playoff. By the way, that is how you do a hot take. That was an incredible job. So I appreciate it. I forget exactly who that was. I'm sorry that I don't have that. But that was excellent work with the hot take there. Anyway, I want to talk plenty about Utah and what has happened here because I put out a take on Twitter about Utah and the Big 12 that did not seem to make anybody happy. There was a lot of pushback on it. I didn't think it was any sort of crazy take. Speaking of hot takes, I didn't think it was that hot at all. So we'll discuss that coming up here. I will tell you all about my trip to Provo, Salt Lake, Park City, the entire area. It was amazing. I was treated so well by everybody at BYU, BYU TV, the athletic department, sports info department, everybody there. So we will get to all that as well. And hey, man, I know everybody is pretty mixed on Colorado and Coach Prime. It was a pretty electric ending in Boulder. I know those in Waco will disagree, but for about everybody else, that was pretty electric stuff. And it's going to be good, I would say, long-term for the Big 12, if I am going to be honest about all of that. K-State's got some issues. Oklahoma's got some issues that I actually think overlap with what K-State is going through right now. So I want to give you that take. And, of course, you guys know on this channel, we cover conference realignment extensively. There is a big conference realignment story in that we've got everything right now hinging on one school. One school controls basically all the dominoes for how things are going to fall in conference realignment. So I'll save that for the end because I'm fired up about what's happening on the football field. We're in the middle of football season, but it will get into the live show this evening. Okay. So thank you to everybody who is here. Unfortunately, as I mentioned, simply because I changed my Twitter profile picture, Twitter then has to review it. So you don't technically have a verified account for the time being, which makes like 0 sense. And I changed the profile picture hours ago. I guess we're going with banking hours for Twitter to get that reviewed, but it means that this is not streaming to Twitter. So the audience will be less, which is a bummer, but the show goes on. The show goes on. Maybe everybody is watching the Chiefs game anyway. I feel like I should probably show you what I have changed my profile picture to on Twitter. Let me go ahead and bring this up because it has to do with the trip this weekend out to Provo. So here you all go. Of course, I have now accomplished a lot since the last I talked to you. I am a member of the BYU Hall of Fame, BYU Hall of Fame tight end, John Kurtz. How about that, everybody? I'd like to send that to everybody who was involved with cutting me from the high school basketball and baseball teams at Blue Valley West High School because I went on to become a Hall of Fame tight end for the esteemed BYU Cougars. So thank you. No, jokes aside, Brian Billick was right before me on BYU TV's pregame show, which was very cool, first of all, that I'm standing in his presence of a Super Bowl winning head coach. And then the fact that they're literally going on the show from Super Bowl winning head coach Brian Billick to me, it was great. Anyway, thank you all for being here. I'm going to get to plenty about the trip. I have some super chats. Mark, for instance, I know left one on Venmo, and I appreciate that so much. I may save it for a little while, Mark, just because it will fit in the flow of the show best if I do that. I want to get through some of the Big 12 takes so I can give myself some more space to expand upon what happened in Provo and my entire experience there, because I do think people need to know this. And I am not the only one that heard this or said this rather. I heard this from a number of my K-State compadres who are on the beats that like that environment in Provo is absolutely legit. I mean, the most cynical, I would say, of K-State beat guys was very much bowing down at how good of an atmosphere that was in Provo. So we're going to talk all about that. Anyway, if you want to be on the show, the way to make sure that your comment gets on the show tonight is to click the $ below the chat box. It will attach a donation to your chat, make it a super chat, pins it in a separate column for me. It will get on the show that way. So if you want to make sure that your voice is heard or you just want to support the channel, that is a great way to do it. Obviously, fill up the chat besides that as well. That is also awesome. That is also great. I very, very much welcome that. And love all of you guys who are here. But that is the way to guarantee that you get on. If you can like the video, that really helps as well. That is awesome. If you're a Big 12 fan and you want Big 12 news without SEC or Big 10 bias, make sure you sign up for my Big 12 newsletter at ofbnews.com. It is the Open for Business newsletter, straight to your inbox twice a week, ofbnews.com. Would appreciate it if you did that. Great way to support. And it's John-Kurtz-4 on Venmo if you would like to leave a question or comment there. If you're not watching live, that's where Mark has already chimed in. And as I mentioned, I will save that a bit, Mark, when I get to the K-State BYU section of the show. Mahorian, same thing. He's got a take on BYU and the Holy War that I want to save for that. Okay? So that's where we are. Conundrum. Bringing it strong early. So is Keep Chopping. That's a hot take. Listen, people, when I tell you I'm looking for hot takes, that's a hot take. That's a hot take. A BYU Colorado title game is a hot take. Listen, it's one thing to put BYU in the Big 12 championship game after they just spanked the number 13 team in the country 38-9. Quite another when you beat Baylor on a Hail Mary and have already been completely physically manhandled by a Nebraska team that just lost to Illinois. That's why it's a hot take. Keep chopping. Way to go. That's a good hot take. I like that. Okay. Jake, I'm going to hang on to this one too, just because I will get to K-State BYU. I think you make really good points about how everything just really, really spiraled on K-State. But for now, let's start with the showdown at Boone Pickens Stadium. This is billed as the best atmosphere in the Big 12, or at least before Utah came into the league, the best atmosphere that the Big 12 had. Boone Pickens Stadium, I have been there about 5 times. It is an incredible atmosphere when it's on. The 2011 K-State Oklahoma State game at night was great. This was not a night game. I get that, but still middle of the afternoon. Huge game. You expect the Pokes to be on fire and everybody there to be really geeked up. They did not have very much to get fired up about through 90% of this game until a furious comeback when Utah is just kind of in cruise control mode at the very end. But make no mistake, the final score is not indicative of how this game went. This was, Utah just had this game by the throat. They really squeezed the life out of Oklahoma State in front of their home crowd, in front of what is supposed to be the best environment that this league had to offer before Rice Eccles came into the equation. Oklahoma State rushed for 48 yards on 15 attempts. First of all, that number, 15 attempts, would tell you probably about all you need to know about this game. Josh Pate has padlock stats, right? The stats that tell you if you were to see this, you know how the game went. 15 rushing attempts for Oklahoma State probably tells you a lot about how the game went. They still can't run the ball. They've got the Doak Walker Award winner from last year. They've got one of the most experienced offensive lines in the country, and they can't run the ball. 48 yards, 3.2 yards per carry. Ollie Gordon still did not get over 50 yards. He got almost half of his yards on one carry late during the furious comeback. He just had nothing going. Oklahoma State's quarterbacks, one of them gets benched, right? Alan Bowman gets benched for Garrett Rangel. Neither one were good. They combined to complete 43% of their passes, 19 of 44. At one point, Oklahoma State's quarterbacks were 11 for 33, 33%. I was listening, so I was driving from Park City to Provo, for the game yesterday, and I was listening on satellite radio to the Oklahoma State broadcast. They do an excellent job. Really like them. Robert Allen have known for a while. Dave Hunziker was, when I was young and coming up, one of the absolute nicest guys in the business. Was very helpful to me when I was starting out as a play-by-play broadcaster. Love those guys. Love listening to their broadcast. But man, you could just tell like the mood was bleak. I dipped out right before the comeback because that's when I was getting into Provo, but the mood was bleak. I mean, Utah came in there and just shut that place down, turned out the lights, and you've got Brent Keithy like literally just walking, taking a stroll into the end zone on that last touchdown that Utah had. I mean, they completely turned the lights out on Boone Pickett Stadium. 7 3-and-outs forced by the Utah defense. They possessed the ball for over 42 minutes with a true freshman quarterback playing. By the way, guys, I have not even mentioned the fact here that Cam Rising warmed up, didn't play, wearing a glove on his hand. Sounded like he just didn't feel like he was going to be effective enough. So they went with Wilson at quarterback, and he was good enough. Definitely good enough with that defense, that running game, those receivers that were really helping him out. Utah's got some dudes, and you saw it on display. Meanwhile, Oklahoma State is benching their quarterback who threw for 396 and 5 touchdowns last week because that Utah defense completely handcuffed them, did not give them any room to breathe. The Oklahoma State defense, they forced 3 turnovers. Trey Rucker's a dude. I just felt bad for them. They were put in terrible spots with, 7 3-and-outs as a defense. You're not getting much rest. They were put in terrible spots the entire game. Oklahoma State just doesn't have an offense. But Utah is that good defensively and just that good as a program. You talk about a program win, right? You go in there without Cam Rising and your true freshman quarterback, who just a couple of weeks ago I was watching it, or last week rather, I'm watching at Utah State early in the game down 14-3. It's not looking great. I guess that was 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago at Utah State, I'm looking at him down 14-3 thinking like, oh boy, this could get a little bit dicey for him. But instead, nope. Kyle Whittingham gets it all figured out, and Isaac Wilson just rolls in and leads his squad to a pretty dominant win at Boone Pickett Stadium. Crazy. So now we're here 1 week into the actual Big 12 season, a month into the season, and Utah already has a win in the most difficult venue in the league against a team that was supposed to be one of the 3 or 4 primary contenders in the league. Shut it down and did it with a true freshman at quarterback. Didn't even need Cam Rising. What does that mean for everybody else? I thought that it was pretty obvious what it means and that there's a pretty obvious message here in addition to, like, obviously Utah is, to me, the overwhelming favorite right now. But I tweeted this. A harsh reality for the Big 12 right now is that Utah looks like the class of the league even without Cam Rising. A lot can change the rest of the year, but it's not a good look. As you can see, that has been bombarded with a lot of people deciding to weigh in on that. I have to admit, I was surprised by the strong and very wide-reaching reaction that generated, and I have been told that I am doing anything from hating on the Big 12 to hating on Utah. A lot of Utah and Iowa State flavor in there, I'd imagine, because Iowa State fans feel like they are not being respected enough in this. Perhaps they are correct. It's painting with a pretty broad brush across the league. It's more about the fact that of the top 4 teams in the Big 12 preseason poll, 3 have been very disappointing. And then there's Utah plugging along, doing it in the toughest environment in the league with a true freshman quarterback. That's the point. And that is not a great look for the rest of the league. It is just simply not. There are a couple of things that I think are getting really misconstrued here. Like, one, we can acknowledge all of these things are true. Let's attack it like this. Okay? All of these things are true. 1, Utah is a great program. Everybody across college football knows that. There has always been a ton of respect for them, both within the Big 12, on this channel, outside of the Big 12. College football at large very much respects Kyle Whittingham and Utah and everything that program has done. It is in no way a bad thing for the league if Utah is the flag bearer. I mean, you want to go add teams that can do that, right? I mean, the Big Ten goes out and adds Oregon. If Oregon were to win the Big Ten this year, that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing. But what the Big Ten has built in is that, look, everybody knows Ohio State's going to be a challenger. We'll see about like Michigan, but they had a nice win over USC this weekend. Michigan just won the national championship last year. Like, there are other teams that are formidable opponents. They're legit. They're there. What I'm saying here is you're looking around like, man, the Big 12 was supposed to be pretty fierce up at the top, and the other contenders, Kansas is 1-3. K-State just lost by damn near 30 in Provo last night, and Oklahoma State just coughed this up to Utah on its home field, down 3 scores late in the game, like into the middle of the fourth quarter. They're down by 3 scores at home. That's not good. That's not great. Now, there's plenty of time for that to change, because that's another truth here that we can all agree is a part of this. There's a lot of football left to be played. This is a snapshot at this point in time, and that's why I added at the end of the tweet, hey, a lot of time left where things could change. Absolutely. That is very true. Another thing that is true, look, guys, you know I love and respect the Big 12. I've been fighting for this league for a long time, but in particular since July of 2021, when everybody was ready to just write and sign the death certificate for this conference. But I think that's a pretty fair statement. This has not been great because you wanted to show that you have other programs that can stand up with Utah. I mean, for instance, the Oklahoma State element of this, Barry Trammell, I talked about at Big 12 Media Days, I thought did a great job outlining like all the similarities between Whittingham and Gundy and their programs, and it was uncanny. Like, all the numbers are almost right in stride. Like, you could carbon copy them. If you did blind resume, program A, program B, and you took it to a unbiased observer who's not a fan of either school, it'd be really hard to pick out which one is which. So you would think that some of those programs would be able to step up a little bit better. I know that Kansas, maybe the expectations were too high for them just as a program right now, but they had all those players coming back. They're 1-3, and they're losing another brutal game in excruciating fashion to West Virginia on Saturday. I just don't think that's the greatest thing in the world for the conference. Hopefully that will change. And by the way, for Utah, I mean, they need somebody else to step up and be kind of like a formidable foe for them too, to just make them stronger and make the league look stronger. And right now, everybody, it just appears, outside of perhaps Utah, everybody has some real major fatal flaws. We are definitely learning that. Now, that's not to say there wasn't some good pushback on this take that I had as well. And by the way, you know, for those of you looking at the title of the video, like, obviously the big statement that has been made by the Big 12 is that nobody seems to be ready to step to Utah. Like, nobody is ready to step to Utah right now. Utah made the statement. The Big 12 statement in return was kind of like, oof, I don't know if we can do that yet. We need to figure some things out. That's the real statement here. But there was some pushback that, and look, Shahan Jayaraja, I think, is one of the most excellent college football analysts and reporters out there doing it. And so this is what he said. He said in response to that tweet, Utah was always the team at the top of their growth cycle. Rising was the difference between them being untouchable, but they were clearly the best team coming in this year. I don't think it says anything about the Big 12. So we had a good back and forth here, right? I respond, look, I picked Oklahoma State to win the league. Full transparency there. Kansas, to me, also was a main contender. They're at the top of their growth cycle. They're losing a ton after this year. This was the year. That's why this is particularly excruciating for Kansas fans to lose these 3 straight games. And even Oklahoma State, you know, I mean, it's not like Alan Bowman was a developmental quarterback that's just reaching his peak. He's a guy that maybe has hung on longer than some would have preferred. But the rest of that roster, I mean, like Ollie Gordon, they kept him around. They've got that veteran offensive line. They've got a really good receiver core. And Brennan Presley's been around for a while. Rashad Owens burst onto the scene last year. I don't know. You could kind of argue it for Oklahoma State too. I think there are some teams that are sort of at the peak of that cycle. Maybe we just disagree a little bit there. But the point about cycles is fair. Like, for instance, my squad, K-State, you're really seeing the effects of having a true sophomore starting quarterback. I think he's got some growth and development to go for sure. And it's going to lead to some things happening like, oh, I don't know, things spiraling and you give up 28 points in 6 minutes of game time. That can happen when you have a guy who is still learning how to go through some of these things as a starting quarterback. So fair enough. That's fair enough pushback from Shahan. Like, hey, maybe it's not some overly negative statement about the rest of the Big 12 yet. In my opinion, at this point, it is not a terrific reflection for the league. I'm hopeful they can respond. There is certainly evidence that they can. For instance, Mike Gundy, what happened last year? They're losing to South Alabama. They get it turned around on a Friday night against K-State to start conference play. Bam. 9 wins into the Big 12 championship game, playing Texas, right? They got it turned around. K-State, it's talking point in K-State country right now and has been for a while. Seems like there is always one of these. There is absolutely always one of these from Chris Kleiman every single year. They lose to Tulane in 2022 at home. They look awful, inept offensively. People are wondering about Colin Klein as an offensive coordinator. Was this a mistake? They go on to win the Big 12. It's happened all the time. Kleiman typically has a dud of a game like that gets you like, man, what is going on? Last year, I mean, I kind of mentioned like Oklahoma State early on looked terrible. But by the end of the year, they're pretty good, just outside the Big 12 championship game, right? So teams still have time to turn it around. But for now, I don't think this snapshot in time is reflecting very well on the rest of the conference if you're letting Utah come in and do that right away. All respect in the world to Utah. All respect in the world to Gundy, Kleiman, the rest of the league. But to me, that's not really that hot of a take right now based on what we have seen so far. Okay, I'm going to get now to some of your super chats, and we will transition into the other games that happen the rest of the show here. Let's start. I'm going to go with Payson Cougar fan here real quick because Payson Cougar fan says Oklahoma State made me feel sad this weekend. Obviously, not thrilled, I would imagine, BYU fans to see Utah waltz in there, win like that, and backing up all of the talk. But you got to, I will say this, to put a cap on that BYU Oklahoma State, or rather Utah Oklahoma State discussion. Utah fans talk the talk. Their team's walking the walk. I know, Utah fans may not always have the greatest opinion of me because there was definitely some trolling back and forth in those Big 12 days, and the Big 12 did win a battle there. Utah is not in the Pac-12 anymore. But in terms of the program and the team and the strength of that, like they've talked a lot, and that program's crazy, man. It's good. It's incredibly good. It's on such solid footing if you can go in and win a game like that with Isaac Wilson at quarterback. And it bodes well for the future. I don't think they're going anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. I guess maybe if Kyle Whittingham retires, we'll see what happens when Morgan Scalley takes over. But for now, those dudes aren't going anywhere. So I understand, Payson Cougar fan. I definitely understand. Let's see. Do we have any? Okay. We'll go to Jake now. Jake says keys to the BYU win. 1, K-State 8+ drop passes. 2, cover 2 safeties with pressure on Avery Johnson. 3, the LaVell Edwards Stadium environment. 4, 6 minutes of completely falling apart and 31 unanswered points. And 5, ice cream to KSU fans. Yeah, Jake, I think you did a pretty good job outlining a lot of stuff there. I mean, look, K-State just doesn't have a downfield passing game. That's really the reality a month into the season. You had moments of fleeting hope with some of that, but there's not any real threat of that. I think that's a huge issue right now. You can load up a little bit more. Interestingly enough, you mentioned the cover 2 safeties. Chris Kleiman said after the game at the press conference, when he was asked about not having a downfield passing game, hey, BYU played a lot more cover 2 than we were expecting. And K-State was able to run the ball. That's some of the frustration. You melt down, you fall behind, you have to kind of abandon the run game. And K-State was running the ball with a decent amount of success. Also doesn't help when DJ Giddens fumbles for the first time as a Wildcat. His first fumble came in a really bad spot, and it gets run back for a touchdown right before the end of the half. That's unlucky, but you got to be able to push through it. And I just think K-State's team, I've said it before, I'll say it again, they're kind of set up for a huge run next year. They have a lot of talent. It's very young. And that was the first time they played in an environment like that, which was just excellent at BYU. So it leads to 6 minutes of completely falling apart and 31 unanswered points. So you are correct, Jake. I'm not entirely sure where the ice cream fits into the equation, but point made. I think you outlined that pretty well. Julius, what's up, Julius? Thank you for being here, Julius. Julius says, howdy, John. Great game on Saturday. I'm thankful that BYU is a part of the Big 12. Good luck to K-State for the rest of the season. Thank you, Julius. BYU fans were very, very nice, very gracious to everybody. I appreciate that. I've got to shout out my guy Michael. You guys see him on the channel here, Michael Goldman. He hooked my girlfriend up with a ticket to the game, so she sat with him. I went down and sat with him for a little while at the beginning of the third quarter. I left right before the punt return. I wish I would have been in the stands, honestly, for that, because that stadium was absolutely, it was like shaking after that play. So very cool, great experience. Everybody was amazing. I appreciate it so much. I got a chance to talk to a couple people in the parking lot before the game too, who are fans of the show. So thank you to everybody who came up to me. It was awesome. I really enjoyed that. Julius, I truly enjoy your support. As always, thank you. Thank you to all the BYU fans who have embraced this channel and just kind of pushed me, nudged me in the direction of going to the game, because I'm so glad that I did. So glad that I did. Tiefendia. Oh boy. Yeah, Houston. I see Houston Cougars Germany's loaded up here too. Tiefendia says the performance expressed by the Cougs this weekend does not represent the university, the alumni, or the city of Houston. Whew. I mean, hey, Cincinnati, on one hand, Cincinnati. I was watching the condensed version of that game on my flight back today. Brendan Sorsby can swing. He can sling the pill. He can spread the rock. I don't know. I'm trying to go to all the cliches. He can sling it, dude. It's a good quarterback. That's so much better at quarterback than since he was last year. And that makes a world of difference. I mean, they are one completely blown game away against Pitt from being 4-0 right now. So watch out for Cincinnati. So that is a part of it. But yes, not great from Houston. And, great effort at Oklahoma. Nice feel-good win over Rice. But they're going to have to be better than that in the Big 12. Cincy definitely does not look like they're going to finish last in the Big 12 right now. I'll put it that way. Can definitely put it that way. Houston Cougars Germany. What's up, Houston Cougars Germany? Service Johan. Tough weekend for my Cougs. Yes, it was. Albeit I remain red, white, and true, as wins need to be earned, and Coach Fritz has much to do. You're right. I mean, look, Willie Fritz is going to make that a better program. I have no doubt about that. But it not going to happen overnight. He was not inheriting a tremendous situation. He's also somebody that I don't think is going to take many shortcuts to this thing. I think he'll build it up right, and you're going to have to endure some of that. So, Houston Cougars Germany, go John Kurtz, go Cougs, go Big 12. As Shohei Ohtani wags baseball. All right. John Kurtz, Shohei Ohtani belong in the same, I guess that's not technically sentence, but I feel like they belong in the same couple of sentences, just like John Kurtz and Brian Billick did on BYU TV this weekend. Thank you for that, Houston Cougars Germany. I appreciate you, my friend. Thank you. All right. Let's dive headfirst into BYU K-State and what all of this means. I first want to talk to you about just the atmosphere and environment, because I really want to make sure that this point hits home, because I think there are some people who would maybe be a little bit skeptical of this. And even I have to admit, I knew this was going to be an awesome atmosphere. And I was looking forward to the fact that it was a late game to get like the full picture of what LaVell Edwards Stadium at night is like, because you hear about the record and the success that BYU has had in that spot before in those games. I was like, look, if I'm going to make the effort of going there, making the trip, I need to get the full kit and caboodle. I got it. Could not have been more impressed. I still thought, I've seen Norman at night. I've been to a big Oklahoma K-State game at night. I've seen Boone Pickens Stadium at night. I mentioned that 2011 K-State Oklahoma State game, one of the best atmospheres that I've been a part of. I've been to West Virginia at night when the Mountaineers are ranked in the top 15. 2012 K-State West Virginia game, huge atmosphere and environment there. I've been to Nebraska, I've been to a lot of really good college football environments. So I thought this will be good. I'm not sure if it will measure up to like that tier. But it does. And I am not the only one who thought that. My guy Mason Voth, who is as crotchety as they come, especially in things like this, when it comes to like awarding compliments to opposing venues and opposing fans, teams, etc. You got to earn it with him. And he said that it was the best that he had been a part of. Derek Young, who's been doing this for a while, covered Ohio State, covered Iowa, has been a lot of places across the country. He said it was one of the best that he has experienced. So I just want to pass that along from everybody that I was with. The atmosphere, first of all, was great. I mean, even down to everything that's happening pregame. Cougar Canyon, like the whole area that they have there in front of the stadium, is great. I mean, it's like a big block party. And when you get down to the part that has the BYU TV set up, I mean, it's like college game day. They've got their own college game day set up there, and the production and production value of everything they're doing matches up with it as well. It was so cool, and I was so blessed to be a part of that. I'm so grateful for them for asking me to be a part of that and getting on there to do a segment, which was awesome. I enjoyed that immensely, and they just treated us like royalty. My girlfriend and I, who were there, they treated us so well, and everybody was so friendly and just made the experience amazing. So I am very, very grateful for that. But just first class is really what it was, a first class experience, the way that BYU does everything there. So then you get into the stadium. Obviously, you've got the mountains behind there as the sun setting, which is just picturesque. And then gets late at night. The pregame setup at night I thought was awesome. They keep it coming with energy, music. I feel like even K-State can definitely learn a thing or two from the way BYU did that and just maintaining the energy there. Instead of playing, like the Kansas Wildcat March or whatever's happening. They're playing Power by Kanye, which I love. The student section, bobbing back and forth, man. It was great. They had the lights. The transition in the third to fourth quarter out there with Cosmo on the drums. Like it's great, man. It's a spectacle. And it was loud. It was really, really loud. So shout out to everybody there, Tom Holmo, the athletic director, everybody in the athletic department, BYU TV, Michael, as I mentioned, people I saw in the parking lot, so many great people there. And I just wanted to verify for everybody here. If you haven't been, go. It's a great atmosphere and environment. It's such a good addition to the Big 12 to have that in the league. Now, as far as the game goes, this is where I will transition to like Mark, who weighed in on Venmo. And I will remind you here, if you are not watching the show live and you want to make sure your question or comment makes it on the show, John-Kurtz-4 on Venmo in order to do that. Mark, I appreciate you and your generosity so much. Thank you, my friend. Mark said, hey, John, aside from a disastrous 6 minutes for K-State, how was your BYU experience? Well, I hope I just answered that. It was great. As thrilled as I am about the win, I still worry how sustainable this kind of winning is. Or do you think BYU has risen up to the realm of being a legitimate Big 12 contender? There's a reason that I wanted to kind of start diving into the game with this question, because it is easy to, especially in a game like this where, K-State did absolutely everything you could do to melt down in a 6-minute period of game time to hand BYU 28 points, essentially. Now, BYU, I'm not saying didn't do anything in that stretch. They took full advantage of it. But you give up a fumble 6, you give up a punt return touchdown basically from the goal line. You have another interception deep in your own territory that sets up a score. Like when you are doing things like that, that is a self-implosion. So there's an element of that. And I know that that's a lot of the focus, I think, in K-State country right now, rightfully so. But I want to start with crediting BYU, because the one thing that really stands out to me from that game is that BYU defense is legit, man. That BYU defense is good. And on the same day when SMU is busy firing up a 60 burger on Sonny Dykes and TCU, that speaks to the defensive effort that BYU put together against SMU. Now, I know, because I watched most of that game, that was TCU rumbling, bumbling, stumbling, handing a platter full of non-offensive touchdowns to SMU as well. But they were still able to move the ball pretty well. And it reflects well on that BYU defensive performance from earlier this year. And they're stout, they're tough, they're disciplined. Like on it, it was just like K-State kind of got out K-Stated in the game, right? And that's what BYU has with that defense, man. I think Jay Hill is doing a great job with that defense this year, and they are much better. I came away from that game saying like that BYU defense is legit. People kind of wondered like, all right, 3-0 start, that's nice. Who have you played? I think it's legit. I think you can say that. The offense, look, took what was given to them and executed very well. Jake Retzloff made a couple of really nice plays when he needed to in key spots to get touchdowns, to cash in on the turnovers. Other than that, solid run game, down 2 running backs, just kind of took what K-State was willing to give them, didn't turn it over, didn't have the Retzloff turnovers. It was the other quarterback. It was the other team giving the ball away, not Retzloff, which is progress. I still wonder about the total ceiling, I suppose I would say, like with the BYU offense. But there's enough there with that defense and seemingly Retzloff improving and look, gaining more confidence. Now they're 4-0 and they're ranked and they just decleated K-State. Like there's reason to believe that they can be a contender. So to answer your question, Mark, I think they are a legitimate Big 12 contender for now. To me, they've earned the right to be in that conversation. And that conversation to me goes like Utah tier 1, Iowa State tier 2, right behind them. You know what? I'd stick UCF in that tier as well, I suppose. Like Iowa State, UCF, kind of tier 2, and BYU maybe just a half tick behind tier 3. But really, if you wanted to just say Utah, a league of their own for right now, and then the next 3 being UCF, Iowa State, BYU, and then like the K-State, Oklahoma State winner this weekend, because one team's going to be saddled with 2 losses to the first 2 weeks of Big 12 play, and they will have a long road in front of them if they want to make it back to Arlington. Maybe you could stick like the winner of that game in there. And I know I can hear like Texas Tech and Colorado fans kind of screaming at me in the distance. I'm not ready to go there yet. That's how I would outline your Big 12 contender tiers right now. So that's what I would say, Mark. And on that, so thank you again, Mark, for your support. Mahorian chimes in and says, what is the chance that BYU Utah gets game day in Utah for the Holy War? I like that question. Thank you for your support of the channel. So we've got BYU. We've got to wait until November 9th for that game, which will be at Rice-Eccles. You've got at Baylor, definitely winnable. You've got Arizona at home, definitely winnable. Oklahoma State at home, I mean, it certainly is winnable. That's not going to be easy, but I'm looking at this right now. 9:15 start time, Big 12 after dark. Have fun. Have fun, pokes. That's what I'll say. Have fun. At UCF, that's going to be tough. So I'm looking at this like, can BYU get through unbeaten or with just 1 loss to that stretch? Maybe. It's not easy, but maybe. Utah, on the other hand, I think is going to have a much easier proposition in trying to get there. Arizona, I don't feel great about the Wildcats' chances going to Rice-Eccles this weekend. At Arizona State, Sun Devils are clearly improved, but Utah is going to be a heavy favorite in that game. They should be a pretty heavy favorite over TCU at home. They're going to Houston. They should be a heavy favorite. I mean, they'll be a touchdown plus favorite in every single one of these games. So I feel pretty confident that Utah is going to get there one way or another, whether it's with Cam Rising or not, that they will get there unbeaten. And then the question to me will be, can BYU get there with 1 loss or fewer? You might have a shot. Depends on the competition as well. So that's, what week is that? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That'd be like week 10. Let's see what our competition is here, because that obviously is always key. Well, we got Ohio State at Penn State. So we've also got Oregon, Michigan. Boy, that's some pretty tough competition there. Do I have the right week, though? Let me make sure I got the right week here. No, I don't have the right week. My fault. Okay. All right. So it's the next week. Your competition, Georgia at Ole Miss. That's going to be tough. Alabama at LSU. That's going to be tough. All right. Oklahoma at Mizzou. There's a lot of competition there. I probably should have just gone to that first. Going to be really difficult to get the college game day to the Holy War there just because of the competition that is going on there. But on that front, the Big 12 is getting Big Noon Saturday this weekend, and that is definitely something I want to talk about too, because that is a perfect transition into Colorado. And Matthew, I see you. I promise I'm going to get to your chat as well. No, you know what? You mentioned Colorado. So, Matthew, we're doing it right now. You mentioned Colorado. I didn't see it until the very end there. Thank you, Matthew, for your support of the channel. I appreciate you, man. Matthew says, shocked at the BYU K-State results. Can't believe no TDs allowed, but we'll take it. Yes, should have said that about the BYU defense. First defense to hold K-State without a touchdown since 2020. 4 years. Also shocked to see KU getting so much this year. Me too. I definitely felt like they were a heavy favorite or at least a solid favorite in Morgantown. And hats off to CU for pulling off such a thriller OT win. Boy, that was crazy. That was crazy. Okay. Colorado, look, I know nobody seems to really like them, or at least many around here are not the biggest fans of Colorado. You have to give Colorado credit for one thing. They are incredible TV to watch most of the time. Nebraska game, maybe not, but even then, you still got Shador blaming the offensive line afterwards, all the fallout and reaction from that game, leaving early. There's all that. There's always something. They are a great TV show. If you think about this in terms of like, hey, the new game in college football is what can you bring to the table from a brand value standpoint and just like a TV rating standpoint? How many eyeballs will we get watching your squad? Colorado delivers on that promise. They may not always deliver on substance on the field. They may not deliver on, things in the trenches that are happening in a game. They will deliver in terms of a TV show. And that was great television that they produced on Saturday against Baylor. Shador is making incredible plays all game, just running for his life. Once again, like I said, the trenches, not really their deal. That's not really what Colorado does. But Shador puts on a show, keeps his team in the game. You get to the end, and Colorado completes. They didn't complete them, but they pulled off. This is the way to say it. Colorado pulled off back-to-back Hail Marys. They worked. The guy just didn't catch the first one, right? It was like the Patrick Mahomes Superman throw in the Super Bowl against the Bucks, where it just hit, was it Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the face? I mean, that's what happened there. It just hits his dude in the face, but it was there. And then he does it again. He does it again on the next play, and LeJontay Webster catches it. Colorado pulls off back-to-back Hail Marys that work. The second actually counts. Then we get into overtime, and Travis Hunter is the guy that makes the play. You've got the game of inches moment. Everybody, nothing better than that. Game of inches, literally. It's about 2 inches away, the ball from breaking the play and crossing the goal line and being probably the tying touchdown that would send it into double overtime. Instead, Travis Hunter, your Heisman candidate, comes through and blasts the ball out of there. Unreal moment. Unbelievable. And that's in a game where it was just back and forth. Credit Sawyer Robertson for making plays. Like, he was doing a good job too. Like, there was a lot of excitement happening. There were just big time plays. It felt like big punches being thrown on both sides and exciting plays. Like, Colorado just gets into generally really exciting games. It's an aesthetically pleasing brand of football, even if sometimes it's not great. So it creates an incredible TV product, even though the reality of the situation is probably that we just watched two teams that will finish between 5-7 and 7-5, duking it out. But it makes for a great TV show, especially when Prime is there as the magnet and everybody is so invested. I mean, Colorado is getting a ton of run right now. They are getting Big Noon Saturday to come to the bounce house next weekend for UCF Colorado, and it's happening all because they beat like a 5-7, 6-6 Baylor team at home in overtime, and they needed a miracle to even get there and win the game. But that's the beauty of Colorado. Some people will say, John, that's the complete opposite of the beauty of Colorado. I don't like that. I don't like that about Colorado. But consider this. Everything in the way the sport is set up right now seems to work against the Big 12 generally, right? Like, it's all about big brands and eyeballs and who is going to watch your games. And it doesn't seem fair. It's not a meritocracy. You have schools like Oklahoma State, like K-State, like Iowa State that have done a lot of winning. recently that have been on big stages, but not enough people care to watch them all the time. And it doesn't, you have people caring more about watching like Miami, who, yes, legit this year, it appears, but for the last 20, they have not been. People watching Nebraska. They have the longest bowlless streak in FBS football. But people watch them. It's not fair. It works against the Big 12. Here's a situation where it works for the Big 12. That's what I would encourage you to think of it like this. Colorado is the rare exception to the rule where the way the sport is dictated right now and how TV just controls everything, it works in favor of the league because Colorado, I have not seen a thing this year that would change me from my preseason prediction that they're probably 6-6 or 7-5. But they're on Fox and CBS, ESPN. They're on major networks every week. They're bringing Big Noon Saturday to the Big 12, even though I believe they were not contractually obligated to do that because they've already hit one Big 12 game this year when they went to West Virginia at the beginning of the year. So, that's the beauty of it. Colorado is doing what nobody else in the Big 12 really can because the system here is kind of tilted towards you to work that way. So you can be frustrated about the attention that Prime gets and you don't like the way he builds his program or the way the players carry themselves. That's fine. That's your prerogative. But I would encourage you to at least appreciate what it does for the league because now you're going to get a lot of people to go pay attention to UCF and see UCF and put more focus on their season. Great marketing tool for the conference. Excellent. So I was very excited to see that today, that you're going to get Big Noon Saturday there. Because Colorado pulls off a miracle win. You have an aesthetically pleasing style of football, a lightning rod of a coach, lightning rod players that are exciting as hell. And yes, you can definitely spruce up a 6 or 7 win team that way. If any other team in the country, any other school had the same resume as Colorado, which is basically tight win over North Dakota State, comfortable win over Colorado State, miracle win over Baylor, and just getting sandwiched, just squashed at Nebraska in between there, would not be an iota of this amount of attention, particularly if it's a Big 12 school, right? If it's like Texas Tech has that resume, nobody would care. Nobody would care. But now lots of people care. And I guess on that front, maybe I should extend the same kind of, hey, who the hell knows? Because the Big 12 is so wide open, sort of attitude to Colorado that I am for everybody else. Their schedule coming up. They're at UCF, K-State, at Arizona, Cincinnati, at Tech. I don't know. Do any of those games feel like an automatic loss? They're almost a 2-touchdown dog at UCF. That's going to be really hard. But an automatic loss? What K-State team did you just watch in Provo? They've got to go to Boulder. They're going to be on the road there. Colorado has been filling it up. That's definitely not an auto L for Colorado there. At Arizona, I watched Arizona play in Manhattan. Colorado could win that game. I don't know if I would pick them to, but they could certainly win that game. Cincinnati, Tech looking a little better. At Tech, it'll be tough, but they're certainly not infallible. We'll see. And now the intrigue keeps going. People sense this and know this about the Big 12. And so TV cameras are going to want to be on there. See what happens next week in this great reality show as it rolls into a game that is probably not going to be just a total whitewashing. They will at least have a puncher's chance. So I would tell you to embrace that, at least to an extent. Now, on the flip side of this coin is poor Dave Aranda. I like Dave Aranda so much, want to see him succeed. But, dude, the way that all unfolded feels like that's a backbreaking, you're done kind of a loss. And not that it's literally done right now, but that you may not be able to get the team to recover from it enough to extend your time in Waco. Especially when, now, everybody seems to be really focused on the fact that Dave Aranda did say in the postgame press conference that the last play they ran, like the last coverage they had drawn up on defense, the play's called Victory Cigar. And of course that, gives up the Hail Mary and you wind up losing the game. Would I have said that publicly? Probably not. I don't know that I would have wanted to divulge that, but I appreciate that he did. It certainly is incredible content. It's great content. But everybody seems to be really focused on this idea of like, oh my God, how could you say that? Like, blah, blah. Guys, that's not what's going to kill them. What's going to kill them is the substance of what happened in the game. That'll be what did it. The only thing that the victory cigar thing is going to do is it's just going to make it really hard for Dave Aranda to ever get on Twitter again. It'll make it really hard for him to get on Twitter because he's going to be memed into oblivion for having the play call at the end there be victory cigar, and then they give up back-to-back Hail Marys that should have worked, the second one actually counting. But the real damage is the substance of the loss. I mean, and it's not just that this one game, it's how it happened in the one game and then what it means for the rest of your season. Dave Aranda is the defensive guy. They have him taking over calling the defense again this year. He's supposed to be the one fixing this thing. His offense and special teams, like the rest of the squad, gave him 31 points on the road. It's pretty good. You should probably win in that scenario. I know Colorado's got some skill talent, but you sacked him. You sacked Shedeur Sanders 8 times. You should be able to win the game. If you're getting 8 sacks and you got 31 points, you should be okay. But Dave Aranda, not able to get it done. And the defense squarely on his shoulders. Had a golden opportunity to put the game away. You know what I mean? There are just a million things you could look back on. You're giving up Hail Marys. You have the ball with 4 minutes left at the Colorado 26. I mean, you got to do better than missed 46-yard field goal. You have to come through more than that. Left the door cracked open. Colorado busted on through there. Getting the ball knocked out, obviously, inches before the tying touchdown in overtime is like a massive cherry on top there. That's just so brutally tough to see for your team. How do kids pick themselves up off the mat after that sort of a loss? That's a really, really hard one. Everybody already knew this year around Waco, Dave Aranda is pretty much coaching for his job. Like this, you can't lay another egg here. This can't be another dud. And the kids know that. Like the players know that. I got to stop calling them kids, dude. I'm 35. The players know that. Now everybody tightens up, I would think, right? Like you're like, man, we're losing some of the, we just lost the game we had in the bag. We're losing some of the grace that we had with all of this to try and keep his job here. Like the more this happens, the more you lose. Everybody's going to tense up a little bit here and be like, what are we doing? So I worry a lot about what it does for the rest of Baylor's season. And I'm not the only person. I know this is far from a unique take. It's the obvious take. It's the right take. Like that is one that has the makings of a you're not coming back from that one type of loss. Absolutely brutal. Brutal for Baylor there. Okay, let's roll through some more of the super chats here. We got Matthew. So Michael, what's up, Michael? Great to meet you, Michael. Thank you for the hospitality. Michael, you're the man. You and your girlfriend are salt of the earth. Thank you. So were you and all of your friends and everybody who was there at the game in the stands. They were excellent company to be around and very nice to me when my team was completely melting down. So thank you. Thank you very much, Michael. I appreciate you, man. It was great to meet you. Alan, what's up, Alan? Great to see you, Alan. Alan says, John, tough Saturday for my Jayhawks. Hey, I feel you, Alan. Credit West Virginia. They simply wanted to win more. Think Lance should bench Jalen. Perhaps Grimes is the bigger problem. Hope we can salvage the season. Rock Chalk Jayhawk, Alan. I think you're asking the right questions, Alan. Let's start with this. Another instance of I want to make sure that we do give West Virginia proper due. I thought one of my favorite lines from the entire day was when Neil Brown was doing his post-game interview and he was asked, like, how'd you guys pull this out? And Neil Brown's response was, we've got Garrett Green and they don't. And this is a day where that was true. Garrett Green had a tough start to the year. He was not very effective against Penn State. And he got out-dueled by Eli Holstein when it mattered in the Pitt game. Now, look, West Virginia's defense is a big problem. Maybe it's not totally fair to characterize it like that, but Garrett Green had not had his moment. This guy he drew a lot of hype, rightfully so, from West Virginia fans. Pro Football Focus really loved him up a lot. And he finally came through and looked like in a lot of spots the type of quarterback that I think people and Pro Football Focus was expecting. And so that was great to see because he did. Garrett Green absolutely willed them to that win. I felt like when Kansas went up 2 scores, just felt like there wasn't that much life on the West Virginia sideline. It felt signed, sealed, and delivered to me. I did not think that they had a chance. And Garrett Green moved him right down the field. He was doing a lot of it with his legs. He was just being a playmaker. He was just being a freewheeling playmaker. And that's when he's at his best. And West Virginia deserves credit for that. Garrett Green didn't quit on the season. The team didn't quit on Neil Brown. They lived to fight another day. It's a tough schedule coming up, but that's one of them out of the way, and you've now stopped the bleeding on the season after what could have been. By the way, I just said Dave Aranda went through one of those you're not coming back from that kind of games. Felt like the pick game was that for Neil Brown, and he turned around and won the next week against the Kansas team that I still think is not nearly as bad as the record would indicate, Alan. And that's my honest feeling on that. I think, is Grimes a bigger problem than Jalen Daniels? That's a tough one. Chicken or the egg kind of deal there, right? Because either way, it's not working. And the end result is that Jalen continues to turn it over. He had another 2. Second one, the fumble at the end of the game, I can't really fault him too much for that. Offensive line got roasted. But he did throw another bad pick, and they're just not getting enough out of him right now. Do I think they should bench him? No. Because I do think Jeff Grimes is a part of the problem, at least just the fact that it's a downgrade from what they had last year with Andy Kotelnicki. Penn State was busy putting up like 60, maybe 56 on Kent State on Saturday. Penn State fans seem very smitten with him. I would not want to see, Jalen Daniels is very talented, and he's out there struggling like this. Cole Ballard is not nearly as talented. And I would not want to see him out there with Jeff Grimes behind it. Like, Kansas fans, your chance at turning the season around is getting Jalen Daniels to turn it around himself with his play. I still pretty firmly believe that. And then if you're going with, I know they really like the true freshman that they have, but I would encourage you to look at Avery Johnson and some of the struggles that Avery Johnson has had and just see, you throw somebody out there who's much greener than Avery Johnson. I mean, it's going to be a struggle. It's going to be a struggle. So I would say stick with Jalen Daniels for sure. But Alan, you got a chance still to salvage the season. TCU is also spiraling in a death spiral themselves right now, and that's who you're playing at Arrowhead on Saturday. So I would say keep the faith there for now. Houston Cougars, Germany. Appreciate you, my friend. Thank you for being here. Kudos to Cincy. Great content, my friend. Hey, appreciate you. And appreciate Scott Satterfield and Cincy. Scott Satterfield may make me eat some words this year with the way Cincy is playing right now. They looks a lot better than what I expected. Last year was a very rough start. I thought it was a weird hire, but Cincinnati is a program that has proven time after time, you can win there. I mean, coaches can win there. Everything is set up for you to win there. They've done it with multiple coaches, a bunch of them. So maybe Scott Satterfield is next in line, and I jumped ship a little bit too soon on him. Very well could be the case. Pacific Northwest Ute says Big Noon prefers to go see prime football than to see number 12 teams back up beat OK State in 100-degree heat. Okay, yeah. So the point is they would prefer to go see Coach Prime than the matchup this weekend, which was Oklahoma State, Utah. They opted not to go, even though the game was on their network, and instead they went to Ohio State Marshall. Ridiculous decision. You guys heard my thoughts on that earlier in the week. That was very stupid. But it is what it is, and this is what I'm talking about, Pacific Northwest U, where it's use what you got. If you're the Big 12, flex this, use it. It's great that just happened. Not just that Colorado won, but that they won in that fashion where everybody will be talking about it, and it just kickstarts the hype machine and the networks wanting to get in line to get their piece of it again. It's good for the league. Is it fair? No. I mean, meritocracy says the better game was absolutely Oklahoma State, Utah. That's a better thing to be featuring for the conference in terms of substance, the two teams, the programs, the coaches, everything. That's not how it works. It's not how it works. People care about eyeballs, what's going to draw it, whether it's a big brand or in this case, a big name. I guess Coach Prime is the brand there as opposed to Colorado. Big brands drive it. You've got one in Coach Prime. Not totally fair how it works. Not totally fair to Utah or Oklahoma State, but it is something that you can leverage for the conference. So definitely do it. Definitely do it. I would say that. So thank you, Pacific Northwest Ute, for being here and for your support. of the channel. Lewis, what's up, Lewis? Thank you for being here. Lewis, yes, I'm sorry we missed each other. I did not. We were exchanging emails back and forth trying to meet up at the game on Saturday. Timing didn't work out on that by the time I saw it, but BYU Stadium After Dark was very fun. I immensely enjoyed the atmosphere. I hope you got to hear me earlier talking about that and how great it was. Lewis says your fans are class acts. Your thoughts about that environment? How will that affect Arizona, Oklahoma State, Kansas, and Houston? I mean, it's going to affect them. Lewis, I did talk quite a bit about it earlier, but I'll just repeat real quick. Not only did I think that was certainly on par with the best that I have seen in the Big 12, and again, I spent a decade traveling with K-State, going to every road game K-State was playing, so I've been basically everywhere in the league outside of a couple of the new schools. And it's stacked up to what I've seen like in Norman at night, what I've seen Boone Pickens Stadium at night. Norman's maybe I should take that back. Norman might be on like a separate half step up there, but Boone Pickens Stadium at night, Milan Puskar at night, it's definitely on par with that. That was a great atmosphere. And I also shared earlier, my friend Derek Young, who's covered Iowa, Ohio State, and now K-State, has been in the business about the same amount of time I have. He said it ranked up with everywhere that he's been. I know he mentioned like Penn State, the whiteout game at Penn State was probably the best thing he had seen, but he was like, look, I mean, BYU, that was in the ballpark of best that I have seen. So there were other guys on the K-State beat that agreed with me on that. I think it'll definitely affect them. Now, look, like Fafita is kind of he's a pretty cool customer. So, it might not get after him as much as it did. Like Avery Johnson, I think, was a quarterback just at this stage in his career, pretty susceptible to what he was facing there. And it's not just him. I shouldn't put it all on him either. I mean, K-State schemed up a touchdown on, I think that was the second field goal drive in the first half. Schemed up a touchdown. They've got it. They're going to score. No, maybe that was the first one because then it was 3rd and 9. It's 3rd and 4. They have a touchdown over the middle of Keegan Johnson. Play doesn't count because you have a snap infraction. It's all about the noise. And then it gets to 3rd and 9. You get a conservative play call. K-State kicks a field goal. If K-State punches in one of those touchdowns early, you may get a much different game. If K-State all of a sudden is playing from a double-digit lead instead of just 6-0 and BYU's there. And K-State had red zone penalties 3 times. Every time they kicked a field goal, they had a red zone penalty that kept them from scoring a touchdown. So that's where you see the environment make the difference. Red zone penalties that were, I think, in large part caused by the crowd. So it makes a huge difference. Oklahoma State, Alan Bowman, he's been in college football for like 17 years, assuming he's still the starter at that point. Again, a guy who's probably a little bit more equipped to handle it. Jalen Daniels been around for a while. We'll see is it going to be Donovan Smith still at quarterback by that point for Houston? I don't know. But for the entire team, it's definitely going to be a factor. It will definitely be a factor. I can promise you that, Lewis. So appreciate you, my friend. Thank you for your support. I am sorry we missed each other, but I will be back. I tell you, I want to get back. Utah and BYU. K-State playing there, anyone else playing there. If they want to invite me back any other time to cover, I will be there. That was with bells on. Man, that was an awesome time. So loved it. Hope to get back soon. Zach, what's up, Zach? Zach says, go Bearcats. Zach, I am happy for you, my friend. Zach, our resident Cincinnati fan here, says, go Bearcats. I know the beating 2024 Houston isn't impressive, but damn, did it feel good to get a shutout victory. Could Cincy go bowling this year? Of course, Cincy could go bowling this year. I mean, if they had not coughed up a 3-touchdown lead against Pitt, I would say they've already, to me, got it to the point where they probably are going bowling. Now, it's like there are not a bunch of, like, none of these games would I say, overwhelming favorite to win necessarily. But it's absolutely possible. Like at Texas Tech, that will be tough. It's a night game in Lubbock. Speaking of good environments and atmospheres, but I don't think that's out of the question. I mean, Abilene Christian damn near won there in week 1. At UCF, that's going to be really tough. Arizona State at home, I think that's actually 2 really similar, evenly matched teams, and that is definitely a winnable game. At Colorado, they're beatable. They're beatable. If you can get after them in the trenches, they're beatable. West Virginia at home. What's West Virginia going to be on November 9th? They did appear to right the ship a little bit last weekend, but they got some tough games between now and then. That could be a checked out West Virginia team by the time that happens. We'll see. At Iowa State, at K-State, those are tough. But again, you saw K-State yesterday. If you get that version of them, who knows what can happen. And then TCU at home. TCU feels like a mess. This may be something more for like the midweek show talking about that. I mean, like Sonny Dykes is getting kicked out. Somehow they're giving up 60. That TCU looked like the most out of sorts, poorly coached team that I've seen in a long time. Just the way they're giving up special teams touchdowns, giving up defensive touchdowns to SMU, penalties, turnovers. It was just like, what did they do all week? Like what? I've got real questions about Sonny Dykes, who I like as a guy. He seems like a good guy, but I've got massive questions about what is going on there. So long story short, Zach, yes, I think it is possible. It will not be easy, but I think it is very much in the cards right now with this 3-1 start. Potentially in the cards, I guess would be the right way to say that. Papa Bravo, what's up, Papa Bravo? Late to the show tonight. Not much important to say. Just happy OU got humbled on their home turf. I'm petty like that. Thank you, Papa Bravo. Look, you lead me to a take there, and this might be look. We're already over an hour. I may have to save this. I may have to save the realignment video for tomorrow because there is one realignment right now really hinges on one team and one team only. What's going to happen with realignment coming up next? But I think Oklahoma is dealing with a similar reality that what K-State is. They went with Jackson Arnold instead of Dylan Gabriel. K-State went with Avery Johnson instead of Will Howard, and you're going to get some growing pains with these guys. But you were really like pigeonholed into having to do it because otherwise you lose the young stud to the transfer portal. Like the dynamics of the sport right now have forced you into that sort of position. So, there are certain realities that come with that, and that is that you may take some lumps now in terms of trying to be better for the future. Jackson Arnold got benched. I think really it's like Oklahoma they have more pressure on them. They're in the SEC. They did get humbled by Tennessee. They're in the SEC. It's a pressure cooker situation. You're probably going to have a quicker trigger and a quicker hook with some of that, but I can expand upon more of that eventually. Anyway, think that will do it for me here tonight. Long day, travel day, but I'm back. Nobody tell me what's going on in the Chiefs game because I'm about to go start it from like the first quarter where I was watching a little bit earlier. But I'll get caught up. Hopefully Patrick is done throwing interceptions because I did see that earlier. Appreciate all of you guys for being here. Thank you. If you are a Big 12 fan, make sure you sign up for the Open for Business newsletter, ofbnews.com. You want to be the smartest Big 12 fan in your group chat, and you want to get Big 12 news without SEC or Big 10 bias straight to your inbox every single week, ofbnews.com is the place to go to get the Open for Business newsletter. Thank you to everybody who is a subscriber already. Tell your friends about the channel. Please like the video on your way out. That would be awesome. If you didn't catch it live, it's John-Kurtz-4 on Venmo if you would like to contribute that way. And if you leave a question or comment there, I will read it to start the next show. So you can still be involved that way. I think that's it. Thank you as always for being wonderful. Thank you to everybody for coming out tonight. Fun show, a lot of energy, fired up. We've got some good stuff going here in this football season. I will be talking to you. I can assure you of that. So take care and we'll talk soon.